A sneak peek at what's coming up next.
So it's basically, am I the asshole or not in this situation? Right. And so we have a am I the asshole simulator, where it'll generate a scenario for you and you can follow it through like a choose your own adventure.
But I mean, what if you just want to be an asshole? Like, what if you just want to be? Because you said it'll let you know if you are, but in a socially appropriate way. Shouldn't some people just be told they're an asshole now and again?
So it'll tell you, it'll say, yeah, you're being an asshole and these are going to be the consequences of it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Nick needs a chatbot to abuse once in a while.
Well, actually, no, I need to hire somebody to stand next to me and just be like, dude, you're about to be an asshole. Oh.
Welcome to On the Spectrum podcast. My name is Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And today we have a very special treat for you. We have a returning guest, Lindsay Demers. That's right. Second time on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. She actually decided to come back again.
And she's
against
here,
my better judgment.
That is a true statement.
She's here today to talk about an app that we had early access to.
Yes.
As well as some of her recent experiences. And she didn't come alone. She has someone with her.
Yes.
So you've been on the show before, but Norely, would you like to maybe tell us just a little bit about yourself since we haven't had you on before?
Hi, well, I am a therapist. My name is Norely Sorrell, and I work with adults. I do telehealth only, and I am the co-founder of Mind Cipher.
Mind Cipher.
Yeah. Huh?
Well, we're going to get into that.
We are.
In just a second. So
it's true.
Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about Mind Cipher? What is Mind Cipher? Because that's why you guys are here today.
Well, I'll give a little bit of background and then I'll let Norely take over about. So Mind Cipher is basically, in my opinion, it's an approach to mental wellness that is designed to work for overwhelmed brains. So overwhelmed from autism or ADHD, overwhelmed from capitalism, overwhelmed brains. And the basis for it really comes from concepts in psychology that I think are key to get a handle on in order for mental wellness based on my own research and firsthand experience. But then I'm not a clinician. So I know a lot about human psychology, but I don't deal with people a lot. I deal with data a lot. So that's where Norely comes in, because she really kind of helped us go from this kind of like underlying idea or model to something that really is going to work for people. So I'll let kind of Norely at this point talk about a little of how, her kind of experience with patients has really informed the design of it.
Yes, so Lindsay had this amazing idea that worked very well for her. And then I just grabbed her idea and together we worked on the application of it. How and what areas do we think it would help others and people with overwhelmed brains, which who's not overwhelmed right now? I mean, life is really, really rough.
Very true.
There's just even as simple as they're not kids, but people coming right out of college back. Now I'm going to sound very old, but back when I came out of college, you could afford a 1-bedroom apartment with your salary, your first job. And right now, that's not the reality that a lot of people are facing.
It's true.
They have to get roommates. They have to live with parents. So life is so difficult right now. And it's so different that you're so focused on just surviving that there's a lot of balls that are getting dropped. There's a lot of things that we require help with. So I have ADHD. Lindsay, y'all already know Lindsay's autistic. And so our experiences together have also very much helped design this thing. We use it for ourselves and then we want to share it with everybody else.
Let our powers combine.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to point out that y'all got Tetris.
Yeah.
Yes. I just want to point out, I was perusing your whole thing and I was like, oh, that's beneficial. Oh, that's nice for people. Oh, that's nice for people. Oh, look, video games. And I played for an hour and a half. So
oh, nice.
I focused on the one thing that drove interest for me.
I like to think of Tetris as poor man's EMDR. I like to just play Tetris and reflect back on my trauma.
There's a study for that.
It works. It's not that different, actually.
Well,
So I'm like, you might as well build in these little like Pong games. And I'm like, just go play them and think about your trauma. And here we are.
That's awesome.
Voila.
That's awesome.
So, so a lot of the things you guys have mentioned, like kind of are on the larger scale, like the big picture. What actually is Mind Cipher? Like, what are some of the details? What is it? What's on it? You know what I mean? Let's get into the weeds a little bit.
So it's the way that my brain works is like, and I think that this is true, right? Everyone has different spheres of their life, right? Like they have like the work or school sphere. They have the home sphere, like laundry, dishes. They have the self-care sphere, like, oh crap, I haven't taken a vitamin in 8 days or whatever, right? And kind of, for me, I get very overwhelmed if things aren't all laid out in front of me. And so Mind Cipher is meant to have everything that where if you are feeling overwhelmed or stressed, you can go to the app and figure out what the source of that distress is and get help with it. And so it can be, what you need help with. So like, I know I'm struggling right now to stay on top of my dishes. So you can go and you can talk to one of our chat bots, which we'll get into how those were made. And it will ask you, do you have any disabilities? Do you have any sensory issues? Do you have any like situational or contextual factors that are atypical that I should know about? And then it will work with you to identify solutions to help you stay on top of your dishes.
Okay.
In a way that meets you where you're at. So you might say, if we think of an example of bathing, it might be like, well, I'm going through a really rough time. I'm really low mood and I haven't taken a shower in a few days. And so you might say, I haven't taken a shower. And it'll say, okay, well, let's think about this. Why are you struggling to take a shower, do you think? You could say, like, I just don't want to do it. I don't have the energy to do it. The water feels where the water is going to hurt my skin or whatever. And then it will work with you and say, okay, have you thought about like just getting a baby wipe and just like clean wipe, doing something like something's better than nothing. So it's really about incorporating the principles of harm reduction into everyday self-care and daily living tasks, but also bringing that to work and school and all other spheres of life.
So I was going to say it in a rude way a minute ago, but not in a bad rude way, just
be rude. Like, trust me, I'm not going to pick up on it.
Yeah, like the way Nick fucking words things. But the way you just worded that, it sounds like you're helping people understand the gray. Opposed to, I've got to do this or that. It's, I can talk to this chatbot and it's going to help me figure out that gray space in between, so I don't have to feel that guilt, shame, embarrassment of not being able to live up to that adult, expectation. I can get shit done anyway.
Exactly. It's progress over perfection.
Yeah.
And it's some is better than none. Let's get you moving. Let's get you started.
Yeah.
Let's get that step.
Get that momentum started.
Yes.
Well, we have something like the wheels of dopamine, which is there's 2 wheels and it says trash, clothes, recycling, or dishes. And then the other wheel has a number. And you spin the 2 wheels and it'll say like 4 pieces of trash. That means you're responsible for moving, or if it's 4 items of clothing, you're then responsible just for moving them 4 things the next step down the pipeline.
Yeah.
So if it's taking things off the floor to the hamper, putting 4 things away, so then it's so you just can spin the 2 wheels of dopamine, and it's like, and if you do that even just once a day, it'll give you a little thing, and you can start to see that those little things do actually add up.
Right.
We've all heard of shoulding ourselves to death, but Mind Cipher also kind of covers the might as welling ourselves to death. So that's my thing. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna deal with the dishes, I might as well do them all. If I'm gonna do the laundry, I might as well pull out every piece of laundry I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
Because I might as well. And that for me is actually the kiss of death, the might as well, because those little might as wells add up to a lot of this is way too much. Now I'm overwhelmed and I'm not gonna do anything.
Because we add in all these extra pieces to it that really had nothing to do with
trivial.
it. Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, this is just, I'm doing this anyway.
Right.
It's not trivial.
No. It's like 90 extra trivial things. And then your ultimate goal doesn't get accomplished because you get overworked with all of it.
Hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, in some ways, it's kind of helping the way our folks think and trying to retrain the way they think to then see it in a more, not necessarily broad way, but see it in a more functional way, if you will, a more potentially beneficial way. I'm losing my words on how to actually word that, but I think it's an awesome thing because it's a place where somebody can learn the things that some people just intuitively get and the rest of us just don't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Like, I wish I had something that could have taught me that at 21. Honestly, like, I really do. I'm sitting around going, how come everybody else can maintain their apartment and mine looks like crap? Well, Nick, you just got to get up and clean the whole thing. No, I don't. I only need to do one piece of dishes a day. I only need to do one bit of clothing a day. Cool?
What?
Oh, no. For a second there, I thought you were looking at me to cue me to stop talking so much. My own insecurity. Sorry, I'm showing human. No, I think it's pretty awesome. But, like, I can see totally, like, a huge benefit out of this, right? Because I struggled with that kind of stuff when I was younger. I'm betting money, you know, my co-partner here did too. Although he's way more put together than I am. Like, look how beautiful his beard is. Anyway, so how did you guys come up with the idea for this? No, wait. Before that, chronologically speaking, how did y'all meet? Because aren't you guys in like two separate states?
You can tell the story, Norely. Tell it as you experienced it.
This sounds like a good story already.
I was a TikTok follower.
What?
Yeah, I followed her on TikTok, and then, you know, we met through DMs. And
oh, so you're a stalker.
Oh, I was going to say that. I was a fan. Yeah, like
a fan.
So clearly I've been doing it wrong all these years, Steve. All I've got to do is successfully stalk somebody and I get to partner with them.
Yeah, you can latch onto them.
I knew I was doing that shit wrong.
If you're a stalker that brings a lot to the table, I'm all ears.
Yeah, valid, right? As long as you're contributing somehow.
I was like, first, I'm very impressed with your style. No, we hit it off in my comment section. We actually met. She doesn't remember this, but we actually met. We disagreed. Well, we mildly disagreed, but we very quickly were like, I understood what you were saying, but you ended up getting into it with a couple other people in my comment section, like well over a year ago. And we followed each other, and then we would DM here and there, and then I just realized we had a lot of stuff in common, and we had a lot of the same takes. And so then it just kind of, and now we talk 8 hours a day, every day.
So Norely, where are you planning on hiding her body? Just wanted to know.
This is the beauty of it.
Awesome.
She's the only one that will protect my body once I go.
You're gonna sprinkle her ashes.
There you go.
Protector, not the perpetrator.
You don't know that.
Awesome.
She's gonna chase away the vultures.
Yeah, there you go. So you guys, now, Norely, are you a content creator or just somebody who uses TikTok?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm a TikTok user.
Oh, okay.
I am very passionate about the topics that she would discuss around that time on TikTok.
Only around that time, though. Now it's like, nah, I don't want to watch it
Now
anymore.
who likes them out of courteous?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
she's
I
the
like
person
it because
who goes,
I follow her story. But
Yeah.
at that time, she was very into autism.
Oh, yeah.
So you're full of shit, but I'm gonna heart it anyway.
Yeah.
So
I do that.
Some
I like all
support.
my own videos too. I'm like, if I don't like them, no one else will.
You know what's funny? I do that for our videos too. And at the beginning, he was like, dude, why are you hearting our videos? And I was like, because I like our videos. Like, he was like, go to your own account and like them. And I was like, oh,
I do all
right.
of the above. I like, share. I'm like, I go to everything.
I have a system with Mind Cipher. I go if we post something, I post something, and then I go to my account and I like and I repost.
Right. Yeah, that's what I've
Same.
been doing now too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll even comment on our own post.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I always
like-
comment on our own posts. Why not?
Wow, this video is great. You guys are wicked informative. I really think the guy with glasses is fucking hot. Like I just put weird shit sometimes.
Right.
But it seems to work.
No, it's fine.
For me.
Self-congratulatory and
What's wrong with that? You know what? Honest to God, I swear to God, the generation under me has such a hard time feeling good about what they've done.
Hold on.
And having an ability to like brag this
how does
much.
this feel versus this? Okay.
I would prefer you not touch me. I would prefer most people not touch me. This feels way fucking better. Okay.
He likes patting himself on the back.
Yeah, I would much rather touch myself. Wait, I'm not going to finish that. So, moving on with this. Before this got weird, sorry.
All right.
Don't touch me. Anyway, where were we? Talking about Mind Cipher. Yeah, the website y'all put together. So, you guys meet through TikTok, which who knew you could meet people through a social media site? But you guys meet through a social media site, and then how does Mind Cipher come out of that? I mean, both of you are into psychology, right? Like, one's a therapist, one's a researcher. I get there's some commonality there. I'm assuming you guys have values and ideals that are very, very similar approaches of, how to help people, I assume. But then how does that turn into Mind Cipher? Because that's a lot of work.
Well, Mind Cipher didn't have a name yet. Mind Cipher existed in Lindsay's brain.
Yes.
Like a lot of things.
Mind Cipher's I decided, I was like, I guess I should write a book I have this idea because basically I have not had the easiest life, but I've been able to be pretty successful. And so I'm like, okay, aside from just being white, and other things that people can't control, that give you privilege, what are the things that aren't systemic that I had to get a handle on to not die?
Yeah.
And so the name of the book was going to be a handbook on how not to die. And it's you have to get a handle on these 5 things, in my opinion. But then I was like,
I would have bought that book.
I'm not going to write
drink more water.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe someday someone will write the book. I'm probably not going to be the one to do it because I'm like, who's going to, let alone read the book? I don't want to write a book. So, but then I was like, the content I think is really good. And that's really what Norely's like, I think you're onto something. We got to think of a way to deliver it to people that aren't necessarily going to read a book. Cause I'm like, that's the thing, that people that I think would benefit from this information, some of them for sure, but largely these are not the people that are going to buy and read a self-help book.
Right.
Because I wouldn't either. And I'm the target audience.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I need to live in reality. And so Norely really helped take the idea from my brain and imagine what it would look like in the real world.
I mean, if you had an audiobook that was read by Liam Neeson, then I would get it. I'm just saying. Otherwise, I would buy the book and do what I do with every book, which is put it on a shelf and let it rot. I'm just saying I don't read.
So
yeah, we never said no to the book. It was just okay, let's stop and let's look at a delivery method. And we actually had evolved.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you said that when you came up with this idea, you didn't have a name for it, but how did you come up with the name? What does Mind Cipher mean to you, and where did you come up with that name?
She was a big fan of Cypress Hill back in the 90s, and she was like, I can't take that name, so...
Mind Cypress.
Yeah.
Cypress. It's just a portmanteau that ChatGPT came up with.
It's a what?
Portmanteau. So that's just 2 words that are mushed together to make a new word.
Lindsay, I am not smart. I'm the good-looking one.
We wanted something to symbolize unlock the brain. That was
decode, figuring out how do I get this thing to do what I want it to do, and this is how.
Yeah, when you first said the name to me, Lindsay, on DM private chat, whatever.
Sounds scary.
Whatever. When you initially said it, I was like, did she get hired by the government? Is this a PsyOps program?
Maybe.
And you know what? Bravo. Because
actually,
I get to play
it's
Tetris.
Interesting that you mentioned that, because the thing is, we are very anti-storing of data. We only save and keep the bare minimum of data we need for the app to run. All the other data users can save or delete at their will.
Right.
So the more information it saves, it stores a lot of stuff for you, but all the chatbot chats, everything, it all you have control over it all, because we really, we're not unethical, but also we really want people to feel like they can go and get help for what they need without worrying about social desirability or worrying is someone going to see this and judge me or whatever. You can go, it has barriers put in. So if you say certain things, it'll, end the conversation. But by and large, it's set up so that yeah, it'll meet you wherever you're at, and we really want people to be able to feel free to be honest and candid, because it does the work for you. Like, you can be rude to it, you can yell at it, and it'll still take out the useful information and help you.
That's super awesome, because like, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of folks who need some place to just let go that frustration, that anger, that something in a more productive way than walk down the street and go off, right?
I mean, we could do an Am I the Asshole demo if you want. So we have a chat bot. We have 2 chat bots. One, and they're not called this. I mean, one of them is Dimensions Up, but Am I the Asshole from Reddit?
I do.
Yeah, you do.
So it's basically people send in a scenario and they like want to know, am I in the wrong? Is the other person in the wrong? Like, is no one in the wrong? So it's basically, am I the asshole or not in the situation? Right. And so we have a Am I the Asshole simulator, where it'll generate a scenario for you and you can follow it through like a choose your own adventure to see how you would do, because right. But then it also has a thing where you can put in an actual scenario and it will do Am I the Asshole for your scenario, but in like the psychologically sound way, not in a way that calls you an asshole, but in a way where it kind of like helps you figure out, well, who could have communicated differently in this situation, and what would have happened under the. So it allows people to practice different types of.
But I mean, what if you just want to be an asshole? Like, what if you just want to be? Because you said it'll let you know if you are, but in a socially appropriate way. Shouldn't some people just be told they're an asshole now and again?
So it'll tell you, it'll say, yeah, you're being an asshole, and these are going to be the consequences of it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Nick needs a chatbot to abuse once in a while.
I do. So. Well, actually, no, I need to hire somebody to stand next to me and just be like, dude, you're about to be an asshole. Oh.
We have a PR simulator. So, and I actually have to use that a lot. So you go in and you say whatever you want to say, and then it will put it through and it'll spit out a PR version of it. So you can just then copy and paste that.
Wow.
Norely, will it tell you where to hide the body?
Yeah, actually, do you want to know? I already know. The best way to dispose of a body.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you watch way too many true crime stories?
It's foolproof. No, it's never been done that I know of.
Oh. Well, then let's not tell everybody.
It's foolproof.
I think I would go with the Breaking Bad method and break it down with acid.
Oh, my God.
So.
You would drown somebody in acid? Okay, how?
Asbestos disposal bag.
Okay. Help me understand why that would work.
Put them in an asbestos. No one's going to open an asbestos disposal bag. You put it in the dump. No one touches them. Trust me, I have a friend that works at a dump. Oh. You put them in the asbestos disposal bag. No one goes digging through them.
I think we're just going to put her body in a bag of, it's going to say used MMR needles.
Yes.
There
you go.
Someone's going to want them, though. Asbestos, no one will want.
Well, but I mean, if the bag accidentally gets opened up, then somebody's going to know what's in the bag. I mean, I've watched way too many dramatized shows of crime.
You have to imagine it's not just, it's going to be body parts surrounded.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So like we have like 5 or 6 bags, and not because you also don't want them to weigh too much. Trust me, I have this thought out.
Wow, like you've really put some thought into this.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
All right. So if you're looking to get away with murder, use Mind Cipher.
Yeah, apparently.
No, that's a secret bot that only we have access to.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay,
that's right. If you click a series correctly, that you get access to the darker side of the Mind Cipher.
Even regular ChatGPT doesn't help you with mischief or crime.
Oh,
no,
really?
I can't even
non-illegal mischief. It'll say no.
It won't even tell you a spicy joke.
Really?
Well, it won't tell you if it's too spicy.
Yeah, like it has bounds on it.
Yeah.
On one hand, that seems weird to me. On the other hand, I totally get why. Like, I get it, but also like. Why? Anyway, so what do we got? Yes, so, I'm reading off a screen, Steve.
He makes it very obvious whenever he's looking at notes.
Sorry,
he's like, hey, so what's
to hide shit?
Hold on, let me take a look at my notes here.
Yes, I'm not one to hide things because, honest to God, every time somebody in a podcast I've ever watched tries to hide, like looking at a screen or reading their notes or anything, I always know. So I'm like, fuck off. I'm not going to like try to hide. Sorry.
You can say fuck off. It's fine.
Well,
we're not ChatGPT.
Well, I've been trying to pull back on the fucking language. Oh, damn it. All right. Anyway, so back onto y'all. Go ahead, Steve.
I thought you were talking to someone.
Oh, no. I was
like,
talking
there was
to me.
someone but there was like someone there.
Most of the time I have to say things out loud while I'm reading them because otherwise I got to read it like 4 times.
So what's the mission? What's the goal? Like, what do you guys hope to accomplish with Mind Cipher? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to I want to know what your vision is. Like, what's the vision for this? What's the goal?
Norely, do you want to go?
You can start and I'll add.
Okay. Really, the goal is to give people a tool to help translate some of the things they might learn in therapy in real life. So like healing your inner child and those types of things, which are very not concrete. And I struggled with, and I always had to like go to therapy and then like translate for computer brain, my brain. And so the idea is to kind of give people, it's not to replace mental health care, but to really give people kind of day-to-day support on like non-acute issues that are just like things that we all struggle with because we have ADHD or because we're overwhelmed. So really just kind of like a little personal assistant where it's like, okay, I'm struggling with this, like, and it'll help you. The key is remembering you can ask it. That I struggle with things and I'm like, oh yeah, I could just ask it. Oh yeah, I could just I could just get help with this. And it's like getting used to the fact that you can go and get help and it's not just going to be like, have you tried making a to-do list? Or like it's going to actually like listen to what I'm struggling with and actually solve my problem.
And you can give it pushback.
You can give it pushback.
Yes, you can be like, no, that's not helpful. Or like, tell me more.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
so that, because a lot of times you're like, okay, well, that's what you had to say and that wasn't helpful. So it's important for people to continue to talk to it because then it's like, okay, if it's not this, let's keep moving on the list of things that it could be.
Please walk into oncoming traffic. That is not helpful.
You know, it's pretty unstumpable, but I think that it's going to annoy some people. Because it doesn't let you off the like. It's like, okay, if it's not that, like it's like you have to really want to change or want to get help.
Well, of course.
But what's very neat about it is that it's dynamic. So you might be going in with the same problem, and you're like, okay, I said the bot is like, I said it this way, didn't hit it. Let me say it this way now. Let me say it this way. So a lot of the times, it's not that it didn't get your problem right, it didn't solve it, it's just that it's picking up that you're not getting it. So
it's designed like a good therapist.
Yeah, so the main prompts for the bots, some of them are up to 20 pages single spaced.
I'm sorry,
and those are the instructions that we give it. So it's written, it all has our Mind Cipher method built into it. So it basically is like a virtual us. But programmed in a way. So basically like the way I solve problems is how Mind Cipher is programmed. So it's like, it's a little like weirdly self-centered to be like, it's based on my brain.
What was that process like? What would like developing that?
It was effortless. The hardest part for me was getting it out of my brain into the world. And it wasn't, I was
Norely's going to help you with that. She'll take your brain right out.
You're onto something.
It's the best way
possible. It's going to be like Futurama. She's going to have your head in a jar.
That honestly would be ideal from my perspective with the alexithymia and everything. Like just put me in a jar and let me go. Put me in a jar with Baja Blast. We'll just
your head will be floating in Baja Blast.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but yes, go ahead.
No,
I was just gonna say back to the goal, back to like 10 minutes ago, Nick was talking about when you were 21. There is a lot of should've, could've, would've, and like why is I had a similar experience when I went to college. Like my roommates were neat, their bedrooms were neat, and I'm like, how does that happen? Like I just getting dressed, like my bed now is flooded with clothes, and then that takes a long time to put it all back. So it's not happening continuously. So it's just put aside so I can lie down. And there's so much going on. And I didn't think like, oh, I might need an accommodation. Or I might, I wasn't willing to accept help. It was more of self-loathing. Like, well, if everybody around me is doing it, I am probably doing something wrong. I should be doing it too.
That
so it's recognizing, yes, a lot of like internalized ableism. And so breaking down internalized ableism, like I said before, prioritizing progress over perfection and just general acceptance and compassion for ourselves. And like, we're doing the best we can in this difficult world, and just allow ourselves to help. So breaking down those barriers to help is a big part of what we're trying to do.
Somebody actually the other day, one of my staff actually said to me, "How do you know you're doing the best you can?" And I said, "Because that's what you did. You did the best you could." And they were like, "Well, but it's not good enough." And I said, "Who said? I'm your boss, and I didn't say that. So who said it's not good enough?" And they were like, "Well, I should do better." And I said, "Nope, say that again." And
so
like,
you can put something like that right into Mind Cipher. So we have the belief brewery.
Yes.
And that will tell you where it'll help you interrogate where your beliefs come from.
Right.
So if you go to the belief brewery and say something like that, it'll say, well, it'll basically ask you, well, what's your benchmark for good and where's that coming from?
Yeah. Like,
why is that the benchmark you're picking? And why, like, and it'll get you.
Here? Yeah.
Exactly. It'll take you, it's programmed not to tell you anything. It's not going to say you're wrong, or it's not, but it's going to use like the Socratic method to help you get to the point where like
draw it out of the person.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But then really the goal is to encourage more bottom-up processing.
Right.
And that's really what it does is to, okay, stop and think.
Like good therapy.
What data do you have? Like anytime someone is speaking in extremes.
Oh, yeah.
Top-down processing.
Yeah.
And so, or they're on their deathbed, like, or it's real, right? But it's like, so, but we tend to catastrophize.
Oh, of course.
So it's designed to pick up on that and actually tease apart. Is this crisis?
Mm-hmm.
Now, to be clear, there are things built in. It's not meant for managing crisis. But like we can I use hyperbole a lot. Like I feel like I'm about to like whatever.
Right.
And it's not going to immediately shut down, but it'll say, okay, it'll take a beat and they'll be like, okay, if you're really in crisis, it's going to end the conversation and give you numbers and give you support, give you resources.
Yeah.
But if it's like, okay, you're having a panic attack, but it's non-crisis level.
Uh-huh.
It's just your average run-of-the-mill panic attack that we all have, but not joking. It's going to say, okay, like, I mean, our mental health system, and Norely and I talk about this a lot. It's basically like if you are experiencing, say, suicidal ideation, it's like, okay, we're going to stabilize you, and then you go back to your life.
Right. We're going to give you the 3 days, and then we're going to kick you out.
Exactly. It's 3 days.
Yeah, that's it.
So
3 days and get out.
It's a lot like our regular healthcare system or medical healthcare system. It's all about reacting to emergencies and catastrophes and not preventative care.
Right.
Yeah, like, are you dying?
Yeah, and that's it. Are you dying? No, then you can wait.
Yes. So Mind Cipher is really for when you're at a 4 or a 5 and there's no mental health care for you or mental, because like that's the thing. Like I struggle with chronic suicidal ideation. So like I need to manage that symptom forever. And so I need something like Mind Cipher because it's not like if I'm going to live as independently as possible and I'm going to be the best version of myself as possible, the system isn't set up in a way to work with people like me. And I know I'm not alone. And so the goal really is if we can, and we had someone sign up, Norely, side note, we have a financial hardship list. So
I love how you just went, boom.
I'm like, wait, side note, really, I have to tell you something. So the goal really is to make it so that people that can't access services that would benefit from that, like they would benefit from, to give them an affordable way of getting like occupational therapy or like how to make showering easier. And so
bridge that gap.
Bridging that gap and kind of, when people are in between appointments or if they're in a place where they can't quite access it at that time, it's something so that people aren't left alone. And it's $9.99 a month or $99 for the year, but we have a financial hardship list.
Awesome.
Because eventually we first need users. But once we have those, we're going to set it up so that people can pay like $19.99 a month instead of $9.99 a month, but they can pay for someone else.
Oh, that's cool.
So that way people, if they can't afford then we can, hopefully, because that's really the goal, is to build community. And we're not capitalists. Like, we need money to live.
Right.
But the goal, once we have a roof over our heads, and we do, is really to help people.
It's like Planet Fitness, bring your friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and she brought up the word community. Well, we're not there yet. Once we have enough users, that is one of the things that we want, is to build community. It's body doubling. It means, hey, this worked for me. This might work for someone else. And getting that community of just normalizing the struggle and feeling like you have support through it, and you don't feel alone. You don't feel like what I explained, right? Like, I was the only one with, like, in college, like, amongst my roommates that was struggling. Like, everybody around me wasn't. So clearly I was a problem.
And because we don't see enough other people struggling the way we are, we automatically assume we're the problem.
Well, it's not
What's the common denominator? It's me. No, there's a ton of other people. Actually, I've got like 2 side notes. I got to get them out of my head. I've been holding them this whole fucking time. I got to get them out of my head, y'all. I'm sorry, Steve. Just hold your own, because I got 2 fucking things. So anyway, Lindsay, you talked about the suicidal ideation, right? We just did an episode of depression and suicide, and I talked about the same thing, because I struggle with it on a regular basis too. I always equate it to my bipolar, but it could also be due to autism. I don't know.
I think it's my trauma and my autism combined.
And so I would really appreciate if you could actually listen to that episode, because I propose a couple of things in it, and I'd really dig your opinion on it.
Yeah, no,
especially
I
from
definitely
a research
Is it out
perspective.
yet?
Yeah. It's out there.
Okay, perfect.
Clinical researcher, dude. I would love to find out if the things I say out loud are.
Why are you
fucking
pointing to me?
beneficial.
I'm just listening to you.
I know, but every time you look in my direction, I'm like, am I talking?
I'm sorry.
too
I'm supposed
much?
to. I was supposed to look at somebody when they're talking.
Well, yeah, look at them. We're interviewing them. That's why I keep pointing to a screen, and everybody who watches the video is like, "Who the fuck is he pointing at?" Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to keep eye contact.
You guys were just talking about internal factors, like like holding yourself to a certain standard that maybe doesn't fit you.
Right.
Trying to hold yourself to other people's standards. But in my experience, I've also had a lot of problems with other people.
Yeah.
Having those expectations for me, whether that be family members or partners and things like that. It's like, well, this is the expectation because this is what I do and what everyone else does. And they're trying to push that on you as well. Yeah. Like other people, and then you feel bad because you're not meeting their standards either.
That's part of what kind of contributes to our own like unrealistic expectation is all
like, oh, why are you being lazy?
Yeah, it's all the conditioning to others around us.
It reinforces it.
Yeah,
and
completely.
Then Mind Cipher can help with that because it has a whole set, like in the communication cabana, you have boundaries and the belief brewery too. Like it helps you realize, is this your belief? Is this your value or is it everybody else's?
Right. Is it the trained response?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is it how you feel about you, or did somebody beat it into you that you ain't worth it? My other question that I had, my other thing, which I guess isn't a side note after all, but it sounds like y'all built this as good therapy to work around cognitive distortions. Because we're bringing up like several of them. Like in our conversation so far, I've heard us talk about at least 5 or 6 of them. And it sounds like that's really what it's doing. It's trying to lessen some of those distortions and allow us to think about them in a more thought out way to allow us to move forward past them. Or at least
that is one of the 5 pillars.
Oh.
So there's 5 pillars. So one of the 5 pillars is emphasizing bottom-up processing over top-down processing. The cognitive distortions are top-down processing errors.
Oh, so that's where I said it's smart up until that moment.
And really, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about how how our approach to stories versus data does or doesn't align with CBT. Because our approach is a bit different, and it's not the only thing. Because the thing with CBT is you can talk about it.
So there's a lot of criticism with CBT because a lot of people that have gone through that therapy, they're like, no, I don't want that because it can be like if you have old school CBT, it can be very robotic, very protocol-y, and it can feel very invalidating. It's like, no, what you're thinking is wrong. and like you're not thinking right.
I love that shit. No. No. Like, sorry to cut you off real quick, but like, I'm a huge fan of Albert Ellis, and just the way he talks, I get everything he fucking says because it's so direct, it's so to the point, and it's so like, let's cut out the emotional fluff here. And I just dig it. Sorry. I talk about him a lot on the show. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, so that's the criticism. So that's why, like, that is cognitive psychology is not the only focus. That's why we have other pillars, right? And one of them that really contrasts it or helps it is when you add harm reduction to it. And compassion. So it doesn't necessarily go against CBT, but it also validates the person's experience. So, and meets you where you're at. And it doesn't just like say like, this is wrong, this is right, this is where you need to be. So
it won't say you're not a failure, you're thinking about that wrong. It'll say, okay, like we recognize that that's how you feel and that's a real experience you're having. Yeah. Let's figure out the things that are underlying that experience to see if we can decipher, like get to the bottom of it. Versus it, like, so rather than kind of treating the symptom and saying, well, just don't think that way, just don't think that way. It's really encouraging people to look inward and be like, well, how did I get to having this thought? It's really about encouraging information literacy to some extent.
Not everyone likes to rip the Band-Aid off like Nick.
That's true. No, and I understand that. I'm unique.
It's like, Nick, shut up, you're wrong. Okay.
Yeah. Like I actually had to coach a therapist once in how to talk to Nick, right? I'm unique in
that. That's perfect. We love that.
And
we love that.
So it really, like, by the way, some of the statements that you're making about like, nobody should tell you you're wrong in your thinking. That's a shit ass therapist. Like that's a horrible fucking therapist. If they look at you,
I mean, and
there's a lot of shitty ones. Don't get me wrong.
You were trained in old school CBT, right? And really, like,
yes.
Would you be interested in hearing a little bit about our experience? I find it fascinating.
Well, I mean, it has evolved, but I feel like a lot of people that went through old school CBT are the ones that are like, no, I don't want that because it was very robotic. We would start with setting an agenda. We would do a mood check. And so it even to get certified in CBT by the Beck Institute, you would send in a recording that it had to have like very specific language. Like how you started, language and all the how like the interventions you used, and so there wasn't a lot of flexibility in. So we weren't taught like you needed to validate the emotion. I mean, that's like part of like person centered and being human, right? But if that wasn't something you were really being graded on, when you were trying to.
It was more about matching the words somebody told you.
Yes, and it's like, well, that's a cognitive distortion. Well, like. So if you just automatically call something a cognitive distortion, well, maybe we're not including someone that's marginalized experience. Like, for example, someone that's Hispanic saying, we always have to be well-dressed and look better than our white counterparts. You're like, well, that's a cognitive distortion. Like, people shouldn't be judging you by that. No, that's a personal experience. Like, maybe your kids were taken away if you're, a person of color and you're like if you're Hispanic and your kid is not well dressed, they're not going to be like, oh, she's overwhelmed. They're going to be like, she might be abusing that child. That child's in the
And that's the thing. Our chatbots are specifically designed to handle, to know the difference between cultural norms, religious beliefs, and stories and cognitive distortions. And that although if you say you're an atheist, you might say any belief in God is a cognitive distortion, right? That's your opinion, but that's not going to be the like that's not the one objective truth, right? If you're a religious person, that's not meeting you where you're at. Exactly. And so it's really designed to be respectful of people's culture, their beliefs, to still encourage that interrogation and that information literacy, but in a way that's respectful and in a way that is validating and honors people's religion, culture, etc.
To
like
honor
dismembering
their context.
Lindsay Demers.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. My culture is cutting people up and putting them in asbestos bags, and it would never say that's bad.
Well, but he seems to think that that's me, though.
Yes, apparently.
The whole time, I'm the serial killer. I lure in stalkers.
It's Norely Dahmer. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's Yolanda.
There you go. Oh my
You know,
god.
it kind of catches me by surprise that like a unique way of meeting people is surprising for you, because honestly, like when you think different, it's hard to find people that think alike.
It's
and
true.
so
Yeah.
thinking
In
outside
real
of the
life,
box
no one
and
thinks
like
No,
we met outside of the box, and that's what's cool about it.
I've made
because
friends
people
online
around
too.
me
I was
don't
just
think like
teasing you
me.
because of the.
No, I know, but
It's
it
like
just
the-
seems like it caught you by surprise.
There's a little bit of people judge other people for making friends online, and
I mean, I judge
if you slide into someone's DMs and you start talking to them, have a conversation with you, I feel like there's people who are going to judge that, be like, oh, you're weird, for doing that. So-
Really?
Slide
What?
into
I don't-
DMs? Really?
what?
I thought that meant like inappropriately hit on somebody.
That it can mean that.
Oh, all right.
It just
I
means
thought
you're,
it just meant messaging someone.
yeah, it just means like messaging someone
Cold
directly.
messaging.
Like
Yeah,
he's
like-
got
I guess
into their
the
DMs.
sliding in is the part that makes it questionable.
Right,
Well,
like it's literally the imagery
If-
of sliding into
If
their
people say
DMs, like-
sliding in, typically they mean like you're hitting them up to hit on them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Okay,
It just means casually dropping a line.
Yeah.
Yes, and if we think about like technicalities, like she
Right.
probably friended me back, and then
Yeah.
I slid in her DMs.
I just
like
like
there's this boundary.
I don't know who slid into this.
I just like joking about you being an axe murderer. It's
Right,
just fun
that's
to me,
true.
so.
I know,
That's
and,
true.
and you know what? Like I am, like,
She would not murder me.
I am a content consumer and not a content creator, and I
Yeah.
didn't like until kind of recently. I wasn't aware that we were lurkers. Like if you're just looking,
Yeah,
like I
what?
was like, I'm just a consumer,
Oh.
and like for some people, they're like, you don't create, you're just lurking. Then
I
but
see that
I
term
mean-
mainly used on Reddit, which is
Yeah,
people
okay.
who.
That sounds so bad.
So a lurker is like, let's say you visit the R Autism subreddit every day,
uh-huh.
but you never post or comment. You just read through it.
Yeah.
They would call you a lurker because you're not contributing to the conversation. You're just looking
Right.
at it.
I thought a lurker was that creepy guy who came up to your windows at night.
No, that's you.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I had an irrational fear of windows as a kid.
I still do. I don't like windows at night. I can't look through them. I have to draw the blinds and fucking close them and shit because I don't know what's out there. It's almost like a xenophobic response to it because I don't know what the fuck's on the other side of it because I can't see all that well.
That's
that
how I
makes
felt as a
sense.
kid, but I kind of grew,
Right,
I
like-
grew out of that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Somebody
I'm the
validated
same
my
way too.
fear.
No, I have to have shades down.
Yeah, like all the time.
I grew out of that fear, but I did for like a long time as a kid up until like, my early teen years. I was
Yeah.
afraid of windows at night.
Right.
And then just at some point I just was like, I think I talked myself out of it. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. There's nothing out there.
See, now I just say to myself, well, if something's going to get you, it's going to get you, Nick. It's not like you're going to be able to fight the damn thing. So
So that's why I don't worry about people cheating on me. If
I
they're gonna
only
cheat, they're gonna
fear-
cheat.
That's true.
No need
That's
to worry
true.
about it.
That's
and
actually
they're
true.
most likely going to for you. So what were you going to say?
No, that the window thing, like I only associate it or pair it with horror movies. If I'm watching horror movies, I don't want windows.
Right. Like I also have a very, very irrational fear of zombies. I know they don't exist, and yet I'm still scared to
I
death.
have a recurring
of them.
zombie dream. I've had a recurring zombie dream my whole life. Except I'm like a badass in it. Like I like have fun in it.
Of course,
I was
you're in
actually-
The Walking Dead. Got it.
Right
Yeah,
before
no, it's more like Resident. Like I'm more like I live and I kick ass in my zombie dreams. But it's definitely like I know. Like I have scary dreams, but I've never had a nightmare. Like I always know I'm dreaming.
Oh, okay.
Well, right,
So-
right before we started this conversation,
Yeah.
I was listening to a true crime story about a family who actually believed in zombies and apparently they killed somebody. But yeah, like they thought zombies were real.
I totally
Where
want
is
to listen
that
to that
on?
story. Yeah, I want to listen to that
It's on
story.
YouTube.
Yeah.
It's on
Um,
YouTube.
yeah,
Can you give
Is
a
it Mr.
name?
Ballin or Scary
I
Interesting?
I didn't finish listening to it, so I don't know what happens.
We're not saying
It's
listen
called
to it now. We're just saying what's the name.
Explore with Us is the name of the
Oh,
channel.
Explore.
Cool, I'll have to look
with
into
us.
it. I love
says-
I love like so it's Mr. Ballin and Scary Interesting. Like Scary Interesting is just like this is a collection of horrible fates.
No, I like Explore
Wow.
with Us is a channel. It's more like a documentary, and he narrates
Ooh.
through the entire thing, and they show.
Can you listen to it mainly, or do you have to watch it too?
No, you can listen
just
to
so I
it, but
can mentally prepare.
they show footage of like interrogations and police footage, so you actually see all of like the questioning that goes
Yeah.
on. But this is a 14-year-old killer who is talking about going home and playing his Xbox after he killed somebody apparently, and he thought zombies were real.
Huh.
I
Straight up.
don't know what happened yet because I didn't finish watching it. So
Oh damn! All now I know what I'm gonna do.
And I just realized, I asked Lindsay, well, because I respect you, to listen to the episode about depression and suicide. But Norely, can you do it as well, please? Please,
Of
and give
course.
me feedback because
You might get a few ideas on how to take care of Lindsay.
Yeah. I always I've read research and read textbooks and shit for a very long time, but I don't have an education behind it. I just have a lot of Nick reading stuff. And so sometimes I say stuff in the show and I'm like, am I really saying good shit to people or am I out of my fucking gourd? Although most of the time I just assume I'm talking shit and I just say it anyway. But
all right, we still have some other subjects I want to hit on. So
before
some real
stuff. Sorry. Nick went in his own.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
So you gave us, as far as I understand, you gave us early access to it. When will this be available for the people? Is it available already now? And where can people access it?
And we will give you a code for your users. So they can get a free month of it.
Okay. That sounds
awesome.
Good. So it's available now, and where can people access it? Is it just on the website, or is there anywhere else?
Yeah, no, so they go to mindcipher-app.org or just mindcipher.org. And the app is a web-based app. So it's cloud-based. You can log in on any device and always access your Mind Cipher, your phone, your iPad, your computer. And the subscription is not set up to auto-renew. You can cancel it with 2 clicks in the app. You don't it's designed for people like
try
us.
Canceling your Adobe subscription.
Yeah,
I did that.
It's designed for people like us. And if you like it and you want it and you can't afford the $9.99 or the $8 whatever if you pay for the year, please add yourself to our hardship list, which is at mindcipher.org. So we can make sure that you get access because that's the first priority, right? Is helping people.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds
first step is to help them. Second step is, keep a roof over your head.
We wanted to delve into
no, and I'm not saying that in a bad way.
We wanted to delve into some of your recent experiences you've been posting about. But before we get there, I just want to kind of circle this whole Mind Cipher thing.
Yes, please.
What do you guys see as the future of this? Where do you want it to go? What do you hope? Looking at your timeline down the road, what do you hope this becomes?
Yeah, the high school question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I mean, I hope that we are able to help people. I hope that I'm able to maintain gainful employment. I think that's the thing is we're just really now that it's out of my brain, I was finally able to express it in Canva. It was like getting an AAC for me in a way because it was nice. Months. Norely will tell you months. And she could tell that there was a thing there, but I couldn't communicate it.
Yeah.
And then finally, after 3 months, I spent a day with a giant poster board. I wrote the whole thing out and then I recreated it in Canva.
I don't know if people who are not neurodivergent, if they're neurotypicals listening, which I don't know how many are,
they should stop.
They might not know.
Just stop listening.
That's not true.
No, not at all. Please.
They might not realize how difficult it can be to get projects like this started. So the fact that you guys have been able to accomplish so much is a big deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been our passion project, the thing that's keeping us sane when life is trying our patience.
So the delivery has evolved a lot.
Okay.
We started one place and we ended up now it's through an app. So back to where do we see ourselves in 5 years?
Yeah.
Mind Cipher is a method that is being delivered right now through the app. So we see a lot of growth in that area. We're open to delivering the method in whatever way it makes better, helps more people.
And we do one-on-one Decipher consultations too, where we can in real time apply the Mind Cipher method to an issue. So if you have something that's too dynamic for the app, you can just come to us and we'll do it.
Maybe you can create a Nick chatbot, a Nick counselor chatbot, which will just tell people they're wrong. You're wrong. Shut up.
I'm making a Lindsay chatbot.
Okay, I would never tell somebody they're fucking wrong. I would never tell somebody that they're out of their fucking mind, but I would propose questions so they could come to a point where they would see
you could
probably
say,
how that thought process
out of your mind?
Yeah.
Let me understand. Are you out of your mind?
Right. How does this affect you? I mean, are you cool with the way things are going or not?
It's just, do you want to choose the regular chat bot, or do you want the crass bot?
Right. There you go. The crass bot. I dig it.
We have Edward Cullen bot. We
Oh,
have
yeah,
an
you
Ace
do.
Ventura Trans Ally bot.
Yeah.
Ace
And if you
Ventura
mention Ray
Trans
Finkel-
Ally?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you mention Ray Finkel to it, it'll say don't dead name his friend Lois.
Oh. Finkel is Einhorn.
Yeah.
You know which one I love?
Huh.
The Taylor Swift song where you put in your
describe
life
a scenario and it'll like Weird Al Yankovic it into a Taylor Swift song. So I described my work situation and it did a song
That's
about how everyone at
hilarious.
work thinks I'm losing my marbles to the tune of Blank Space.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh.
That's
Well,
awesome.
speaking of your work
Yeah.
experience, why don't you? So for people who don't know, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Oh yeah, sure. So I'm a faculty member at the Boston University School of Medicine, and I came forward. I tried to come forward many times between July and November of last year, and I finally in November was like, okay, like this has really gotten to a point where it's not tenable for me. And so I came forward and asked for a new supervisor. And that I've been experiencing 4 months of nonstop psychological torture since then at the hands of my institution. And it's still going on. So there's not really much to say. It's just, really disappointing that this is still where we're at as a society.
So if I understand it correctly, because clearly I watch every video you put out, 'cause, obsessive.
Same.
And wait, did Lindsay, did you just say same? Like you watch your own videos all the time? 'Cause
Obviously, I need
bravo.
to rewatch them back from everyone else's perspective.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway,
Okay, what's it like when Nick watches it? What's it like when Norely watches it? I do that for all 17.5 thousand of my followers.
as you should.
I rewatch them all every time, and I'm like,
Well, when
okay.
Norely watches it, she's looking for the most delicious portions of meat to cut out. So.
I'm looking for angles.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So if I understand it correctly, a lot of this has to do with a level of discrimination against you.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
If you're comfortable.
Like what? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, talk
I'll
as
just
much as you want or as little.
I'll share the things that I've legally sworn to because
Yes, exactly.
I legally swore to them.
Yeah.
So basically, and again, not in a way where I think anyone's a bad person. It's just that there are a lot of outdated views in medicine that are understandably still in play just because medical doctors are so overwhelmed. And I know we all complain on the patient side, but there's a lot that the doctor side struggles with too in terms of like, forced 15-minute appointments and all of these types of things. And so again, I just want to emphasize I don't think anyone's a bad person, but just really kind of clinging to the medical model of disability and this idea of like, well, disabled people at the end of the day, can't be trusted to get the job done. And patients aren't going to trust disabled doctors. And kind of these ideas that disabled people don't necessarily belong in medicine. And so I really have been working to try to educate people on the social model of disability in medicine. And I'm teaching a course this summer at a different institution to medical students about disability and healthcare and like the social model of disability and ableism and its root causes. And so what initially I came forward with just, asking for education for the people that needed it and to be with a supervisor that's more supportive and understanding of disability. And they just haven't been able to do that. And it's been very, very challenging, but I mean, at every step of the way, my conditions have been exacerbated.
Right.
So like, stressful surprises are not the thing to do for someone that's autistic with PTSD.
Right. Like on either one of those two things, let alone both.
Yeah. Stressful surprises together, especially when it's like my career, which is like my special interest. It's very stressful and very high stakes. And so my hope is just that people will learn, are willing to learn and will learn more about disability and learn that there's a difference between an impairment and a difference.
Yes.
There are such things as impairments, right?
Yeah.
Like those are very real, but then there are also things that are just different. That is not like, it like doesn't mean my ability to do this task is in any way compromised. I just do it different.
Right.
And that there are multiple ways of doing the right thing, and kind of who is defining what's professional. And is like when we're not adhering to those standards. Yeah. You know, like in my case, people still don't understand that I don't read tone. So like I don't they don't understand that, like I know that I know now because I have enough experience with the world, but like even when I'm trying my best not to sound like an asshole, I just sound like an asshole because I don't understand how to not sound like an asshole, which is what I literally, this is so embarrassing. It's hilarious, but I will in certain meetings now, I don't actually talk. I put what I need to say into the ChatGPT PR thing in Mind Cipher, and then I just read that.
Yeah, I got accused by my area director, not in a mean way, because he seems to be super like supportive of the fact that I'm pretty open about being autistic and like what that means for me. But the other day he said, "Dude, you got to write more than 4 words for an email." And I said, "But that's all I needed to say. I needed 4 words." And he goes, "No, the rest of us need you to write more. You need to make us feel like we're smart in the email." And I went, "Oh, okay." And I wrote it out, and he was like, "Why didn't you do that the first time?" And I said, "Yeah, man, that's probably not a question to ask me."
Well,
that's probably not a question to ask.
That could be the difference between like showering that day or not.
Right.
Like it's not just like and that's the thing I'm struggling with too, is that people really struggle to see that I'm ever struggling, even when I'm like bleeding out of my eyeballs. And they're like, "You're good. You'll be fine." I'm like, right. But like, how do we know that? Like, it's just very, So my goal ultimately is, again, not to harm anybody, but really just to try to raise awareness and educate people that like, you can be very smart, you can be very good at your job, and you can still not understand tone. Yeah. And that people should give you grace. And like, just like when I say just read the words I'm writing, don't top down process them. Like, just read what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. Take it word for word.
Yeah. Then if you just read the words and don't try to, put a tone to it, then, my communication is received much better. And it's just frustrating. How many times do you have to say that to people before they like can internalize it?
It's literally everybody. It's and Lindsay, I'm right there with you. Like I completely feel exactly what you're saying to me, because I feel the exact same way all the time.
I'm sorry.
I've come to a point, and actually I decided many years ago that I was going to introduce myself as, "Hi, I'm Nick. I'm an asshole." And I'm just going to tell you up front, so you have an expectation that I'm going to sound rude.
It's so frustrating, because then it's like, you do that, and it's like, you're going to think I'm being a bitch. But then they're like, she's being a bitch. And I'm like, no, I told you 20 hours ago, you're going to think I'm being a bitch. Yes. Yeah. Like, you can predict exactly what's going to happen. And they're like, well, you're just, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to warn you. I'm trying to help you.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate for a minute, if that's what your experience has been, because especially if you're not used to dealing with a lot of people like us, then when people say things a certain way, you might read tone into that's not necessarily there, because that's just what you're used to.
Well, of course, and that's part of the issue is people are still putting people in a fucking box and a label without looking.
If 9 out of 10 times this person is being a bitch, but you're the one exception where you're not.
It's like, you can tell if someone's being an asshole by how they react when you tell them that you hurt their feelings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like if I say something and you're like, that hurt my feelings, I'm like, I'm sorry. I did. By the way, I have a hard stop at 12:15, just so you know. I'm like, but it's 12:11. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I forget what I was saying, but yeah, I have a work call actually.
So just real quick to wrap this part of it up. I understand what you're saying when you say, there is a such thing as being an asshole and stuff like that. I think far too many people have too broad of a definition of what is rude, disrespectful, asshole, mean behavior.
Other people to know what their definition is.
Right. I mean, and that's kind of where I was going with that, is like, one person can think what you said was bitchy or asshole or rude, But the thing about it is like they're viewing that based on everybody prior to you. They're not putting it in your context, right?
Exactly.
And they're not asking you. So
Every coin
what do
flip.
you
So
mean?
this is the analogy I give, and then I'm gonna hop off. But I think if you guys want to keep talking, you should. I just have to go because of but right. It's when because of work. When I like the biggest thing, like when I would teach Psych 101 is when I would do the stats thing is okay. I have a quarter and I just flipped 10 heads in a row. What's the probability the next coin flip is going to be heads?
Yeah,
it's 50-50 still.
Right.
Every coin
doesn't
flip
change.
is independent. It doesn't know the coin flips that have come before.
Right.
That's how my brain works. Like every new email from a person, I'm like, okay, this is a brand new coin flip. Right. But everyone's like, well, you rolled the heads 10 times. It's going to be tails now. I'm like, why do you think that?
That's the same reason why people continue to gamble.
Yes, that is. Well, yeah. Well, I'm bound to hit it eventually. No, you're actually not.
You know that partial reinforcement is the most effective training for people. So like slot machines and things like that are the most like addictive to your brain in terms of feedback. All right, thank you guys. I'll follow up with Norely after.
Goodbye.
Thank you all.
She wasn't kidding about that hard out. She was like, oh, that's a minute. Bye.
Oh, I had two more questions, but
okay.
It's okay.
For Lindsay, or do you want to ask her?
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to say about Mind Cipher before we end this conversation?
I could not stop that. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Oh, thank you.
And before I answer that question, just with what that conversation y'all were having, I really feel that people don't like to feel uncomfortable.
No, they don't.
And that's like, as a society, like a lot of us just struggle to sit with uncomfortable feelings. And when people are very direct, it's like a projection, like it's what you make out of it. And that discomfort, you're like, no, your 4 words, like you need to sandwich in the pretty stuff because we need you to make us comfortable.
Right.
So
no, I agree with you completely on that. Like people hate being uncomfortable. And the thing about it is if you're a neurodivergent person, you're uncomfortable all the time. Like that's how we live. We live uncomfortable. So when people are like, what you just said affected me and now I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah, great. Now you live in my world.
Special thanks to our Patreon subscribers. Thank you, Ray Hansen,